converted man here. So, I've been having this conversation with this YouTuber who goes by the name of Kerusso Apologetics. However you say that. I say that, whatever. Anyways, so the comments were happening under this video about, how you can trust the historical things of the Bible or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, this old tattered writing we found, then translated, then put together and retranslated a few more times. The one that talks about walking on water. Yeah, that's so trustable. And then you want citation. Like, you don't know how the Bible came together? Like, you want me to cite how the Bible came to be? Like, is that it? No, he didn't want that. And then he thinks that I thought that it was because it was translated that we couldn't trust it. No. It's kind of the walking on water bit. That's the part that I don't have, that I find to be something we can't really trust. So then he says, of course, one who's genuinely searching. Now, I love this. Didn't this appear in the last thing I just did, where I complained about the guy's questions for atheists? If you're honest, or if you're really seeking legitimately, and all this sort of loaded wording, like, why you don't need to say it that way? Like, people are going. Jeez. Anyways, so if you're not genuinely searching, and I can always make then the excuse that, well, but you just weren't genuinely searching. You were searching, but you weren't genuinely searching. See, anyways, to keep an open mind to the natural supernatural element. If you've already shut off your mind to theism, then of course you're going to reject it. It's nothing more than an a priori rejection of the historical evidence. Well, there is no historical evidence in the first place regarding the events in question. What you have is writings that anonymous people wrote about events that they claim to have happened. Evidence is not a claim. So, yeah, you have the writings, and they are old, but that's not evidence. Well, but it's historical evidence. No, that would be something like archaeological evidence, or, something like that, where you have corroborating reasons to think that it's true. But you don't have that for the supernatural stuff. It leaves behind no artifacts. But the problem is, and the problem will always be, that you have zero example of the supernatural. And until you do, then there's no reason to think that the supernatural is a thing. It has nothing to do with rejection of theism or a priori anything like that. It's simply that when examining anything at all, whether it's in the past or the present or whenever the bleep, you have to be skeptical of non-mundane claims. You just have to be. You don't have a choice. Otherwise, you're going to open this Pandora's box of insanity, and you're then going to have to say, well, how do you know when something is true versus not true? So, he asked what my standard of proof was: empirical evidence, repeatable testing. Would historical evidence come under the umbrella of empirical evidence for you? No, it wouldn't. Because that's not really archaeological. Yes, that would be empirical, because you can see the archaeology, you can see the dig site, you can see the pottery, stuff like that. So no, but you can't have historical evidence for an event that hasn't been shown that can happen. Okay. So something non-mundane happened, and that this is the key point that he missed in his rebuttal here. Non-mundane. That means, something magical, something mystical, something supernatural. If something like that is written to have happened, or somebody says it happened, or even if there's a video of, something going on, you're going to have to be skeptical of it because you need to be able to examine this thing to know anything more about it. So I gave some examples. A man flies into the sky without a machine or device. I have writings about that. Somebody teleports a lobster, talks to someone, lava becomes gold. Just stuff that could happen. So I have a written document that says a man flew in the sky and saved an airplane from crashing. Of course, many people actually have seen this also. We have film of this happening. So we have plenty of people that have seen this happening. Now, of course, nobody's been able to examine this person directly, but we have ample evidence of that this person did this thing. What do you mean it's Superman? No. I'm not necessarily talking about Superman. But anyways, why would we reject that? As being, you're just having an a priori denial that somebody can fly into the sky. That's just silly. Because we have no evidence that anyone can fly, we should be skeptical of this writing. It doesn't matter when it was recorded or how many people claimed that it happened or claimed to have seen it happen. All that matters is we, as a species, have not observed that anyone can fly in this way. Unless until we have an example of someone who can fly, we'd always have to be skeptical about that. To wit, he then says it's a ridiculous claim. No, it's not. You're just being automatically skeptical of people that can fly. How dare you? Why are you rejecting flying people? Are you an a-flyist? And then he says, I suppose you don't believe Hannibal crossed the Alps on elephants. Well, that's a mundane claim. Remember I said non-mundane claim. Yeah? This is a mundane claim. I don't know. I don't know about this person doing this thing. But there's no reason per se for me to be skeptical of it because it's mundane. People can ride elephants. People could cross mountains. That's it. It only happened once. No one has ever done it since. We don't know how he did it. Well, none of that, but we can imagine somebody being able to do this. And if we really wanted to, we could replicate it. It would be difficult, but we could do it. It's nothing more than a priori rejection of any and all evidence that would infer a historical event took place. No, it's the supernatural is the part that automatically must be something that we're skeptical. So that's the problem. This is an example, not a claim, by the way. The man flying into the sky was an example, but if you want it to be a claim, okay, fine, I'll make the claim. I've got plenty of things that say that this happened. Sure, they're drawn. Superman. He's talking about Superman. Shut up. We have film of it. Superman. Shut up. But yeah, okay, yes, I'm talking about Superman. Fine, whatever. But you could claim that this is a historical record. And somebody in the future that did not know that Superman was a fictional character, did not know that this person was made up in full, could, if you had enough people that believed that Superman was one time real, why not? You could have that happen. And they all made the claim, no, these writings that we have, see all these drawings, people spent time and effort and energy writing all these stories down. They made these films. Why would they do that unless this really happened? You can't just object to somebody flying just because we've never seen anyone fly. I mean, that's just a rejection of the supernatural. You could make the same excuse. The naturalistic methodology is not a priori because, well, and even if it is a priori, it's all we have until we have an example of the supernatural, whatever you think that is. Without that, you don't have evidence. You have speculation. So, look, this guy walked on water. Really? How? How did that happen? Like, oh, we all saw him. Really? Did you though? Because what's the difference between that? If it said that Jesus flew into the sky, you wouldn't have a problem with that. By the way, there is writings of a man who gets on a horse and flies into a sky. Okay, that's Islam, but still, why? And Jesus ascends into heaven. That sounds like flying to me. So he also comes back from the dead. Also, animals talk in the Bible. Maybe not lobsters, which is a point against it, but animals talk. People are healed from things that you shouldn't be able to be healed from. Blind man see, deaf man can hear. Amazing. Water turned into wine. Amazing. How did it happen? Do you have any example of this being a thing that can be done today? No? Okay. Then why think it happened ever? Well, maybe it happened. Well, but why would you say it? And then how would you then determine that other writings that make claims that are similar to this, or other claims about supernatural things, like this guy was chopped off into pieces, his pieces were spread, they collected the pieces and put them together, and then the guy got up and he was fine? How do you know that that one's false and the other one's true then? How do you decide? Well, but this is historical. This is all historical. All mythology is in history. But that doesn't make it evidence for the thing. Empirical, repeatable, investigatable phenomenon. We don't have to be skeptical of it. You could be skeptical of the elephants in the Alps thing if you wanted to be. There's really, it's not a big deal if you are or aren't. It doesn't really matter. There's no existential crisis created by being skeptical of that. It doesn't matter. The claim is very different, because the claims about Jesus are that if you don't believe it, you're screwed. And if you believe it, then you get this wonderful, terrific reward, which of course means that that particular God is using illogic to try to compel your acceptance one way or the other. So it can't be a logical being, therefore it can't be trusted. But that's a whole nother issue. The key point that Kerusso here makes, and many apologists and many theists make the same mistake of, well, that's just methodological naturalism and yada yada yada, and you're just rejecting God. It's like once you accept God, then these things become permissible. Yeah, well, once you accept magic, all things become permissible. So you don't have a logically coherent system anymore at that point. If you could demonstrate that somebody could walk on water, then you'd have a different problem, perhaps, because you'd have to then demonstrate that that's supernatural rather than some naturalistic way of doing it. But at least you would show that it's possible. You don't have that, though. You could have somebody turn water into wine, but you'd certainly want that to be tested. Why? Because it might be an illusion. It might be a trick, sleight of hand. Magicians can do that trick. So you're going to want to investigate the glass, and you're going to want to investigate their, maybe they need to stand naked when they do it. There's going to have to be something put into place to make sure that it's not a trick, that it's actually really occurring the way that they claim to be. You're going to have to test, make sure that it's water before, during, and then after the event. And the machine that's doing that at some point is going to register it's not water now, it's wine. So if you could do that, then great. You'd have an example of something that we don't understand. We don't know how it works. You don't have that. You won't have that. And I predict you'll never have it. The request to see a supernatural event on demand has always and will always be met with, well, that's not how it works. You can't test God. Yeah, well, I mean, if it was able to be happen on command, then it wouldn't be special. All these sort of nonsensical rebuttals to it. You don't have the example, so you have to be skeptical of it. If it's mundane, then yeah, you could probably happen. All the things that are mundane probably could have happened as written in the Bible or any other place that things are written. It doesn't mean that they did. All the events in Gone with the Wind are pretty mundane, except for them singing. But okay, that's in the movie. In the book, the events are mundane, but it still didn't really happen. So just because it's mundane doesn't mean that it did happen either. But there's no real reason to be more skeptical of it. But once you have the super, if all of a sudden, the nuns are flying around, then you have a reason to be skeptical that happened, at least, if nothing else. So, at any rate, wonder if this will help him. Probably won't. Will he even watch this? I don't know. But he's an apologist doing his thing on YouTube, so maybe he'll have a talk with me at some point in time. Don't hold your breath, though. Thanks for listening.